Hey everyone, I'm here to answer a question that you might be interested in, and that is, what is a 3-cent silver? Well, a 3-cent silver, which was also called a trine, was struck by the U.S. Mint from 1851 to 1872, and then again just for proofs in 73. After that date, Congress abolished it. This is a really tiny, tiny coin. It's only 14 millimeters, and it's basically smaller than the U.S. dime. And if you're thinking about Mercury dimes or Roosevelt dimes, the silver counterparts weighed 2.5 grams. This one was originally 0.80 grams. Then it became 0.75 grams, so only 3/4 of a gram. So it was very, very light, very, very small and thin. All of these were struck in Philadelphia, except for 1851 when some were struck in New Orleans. And basically, 3 cents sounds like a strange denomination, but it was done in order to match up with the prices of stamps at the time, which were 3 cents. So that's why you had the 3-cent silvers from 1851 to 1872, and then you had 3-cent nickels from 1865 to, I believe, 1888. And this was actually a little controversial too, because this was actually the first coin printed by the U.S. where the metal was worth less than a denomination. So this had less than 3 cents of silver at the time, but it was in for 3 cents. So kind of interesting. Now, on the front, because again, it's a tiny coin, it just says United States of America with the date underneath. This particular example, it's a mint state example. It was made in 1853. And you see we have the star with the Union shield in the middle. On the back, let me flip that over. That would make sense. On the back, we have a fancy C for cents. And then we have the Roman numeral 3 with 13 stars, signifying the colonies. This is to me, it's a really cool coin because not only was it around during the Civil War time, like I said, Civil War, you figure early and mid 1860s, there was a run on silver at the time, silver coinage. People were hoarding it. And this one circulated quite a bit, but it really never found its place besides purchasing stamps. From what I understand, they were popular at post offices and whatnot. Really not that great to make change or anything with was one of the arguments at the time. Plus, people would lose them because they were so tiny. I mean, they were really, really small. If you look at the early mintages, I think they made a couple million in 1851, and then 1852, 53, and 54 they were in the millions, like multiple millions. Then there were a couple of years where it topped a million, but then it just dropped quite a bit. In the last maybe 10 to 11 years where they were made, I think in the last 11 or 12 years, there was one year where they had like 22,000, one window was 21,000, the next highest was 12, and then the other 7 or 8 years it was below 10,000. And then proofs were probably in the 6, 7, 800 range. So this is something, if you get getting the 1851 to 1853, which is known as a Type 1, that's not too big a deal to get them. But some of those later mintages from the 1860s and the early 1870s are really, really tough to come by. The other interesting thing about this is it was actually demonetized. That's right, the United States pulled to Canada and says this was no longer considered money. But then when the Coinage Act was passed in 1965, it basically made all demonetized money monetized again. Now, it's the right thing to do in my opinion because money is money and it should have never been demonetized, but for all intents and purposes really didn't mean anything in practice because people weren't using these to buy anything. Chances are you probably didn't see them too much in the 1860s and 1870s and probably extremely rare in commerce after that. Because like I said, they didn't make too many of them. They were small, they got lost. And then a lot of them that the Treasury had in their coffers were melted, which is kind of funny that they didn't just let them be because, again, it was 3/4 of a gram. I'm trying to figure out how much that would be in today's silver price, because silver price is around $22 and change right now. So you figure silver is about, let's see, about 75 cents, about 22 and change an ounce, so about 75 cents a gram. And you figure 3/4 of that would be like 57 cents. So the scrap value of this coin is 57 cents. That's kind of crazy. Imagine trying to stack those babies. That would be something to see. Anyway, if you have not heard much about the 3-cent silver, I would definitely encourage you to look into the history of it. It's a really interesting coin. And as I've stated before on this channel, I really tend to like coins like the half-cent, the 3-cent silver, the 3-cent nickel, the 2-cent piece, half dimes, the 20-cent piece, all these kind of unusual coins that in some ways didn't really seem to have a logical purpose in some cases, like a half dime. We already have a dime. We had a nickel later on. Why have a half dime and a nickel? Why have a 3-cent silver and a 3-cent nickel? Why really have a 2-cent piece when you can have just 2 pennies? Think about it. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, I'll leave you to think about it. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.